The Alpha Sessions.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Alpha Sessions. Today I'm very excited because we have Rachel Hill in the studio.
Hello.
Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
No, thank you for coming in. Thank you very much. We've had a lovely time. We've been listening to you playing sweet songs all afternoon. So where are you from? Where are you based?
Well, I'm now based in Cambridge. Fairly new to being back there and living there. Been all around in the last few years, really. Playing some musical hopscotch. So, yeah, I've just moved from Dorset. I was based in Sherborne, which is kind of North Dorset. That's where my family live. And then I've just moved in with my partner in Cambridge. So, but yeah, also spent a lot of time in London doing a master's last year in songwriting and production. So, trying to spread quite far.
We'll definitely come back to that. How was it growing up in the music scene on the South Coast? What was the music scene like in Dorset?
Well, see, there's another place to mention. So I technically grew up in Devon and then actually lived in Nottingham for most of my kind of school years. So yeah, I really have been all over the place. So I first got into open mics in Nottingham, and that's where kind of my more classical music education was as well, because that's a lot of what was going on for me growing up. I've come from a very classical music background, and things like I had the opportunity to go and study composition at the junior department of the Guildhall School of Music and Drama.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I was really kind of set on doing, well, first of all, I think I was the only 11-year-old that said I wanted to be an opera singer.
When
we went around the classroom having to say what we want to be when we grow up. But then after a few rejections and things early on, I switched to composition, and then I thought, okay, I want to be a film composer. And then that kind of died a death as well when I was at university, and I finally went back to writing and to songwriting. And that was what did it for me and what stuck. So I've enjoyed doing that since.
So music has always been in your life. It feels like family ties in the roots. What was your earliest musical memory, if you have one? If you can think way back, something that like kicked off music for you and you thought, this is what I want to do.
Well, so I learnt piano pretty much from my grandma. She was the one. So she actually lives with us now. Well, I keep thinking I live at home still. She lives with my parents now. She's got her own annex next door, and every time I go home it's really nice that I get to see all of them. And she would always accompany me on the piano because she used to be a primary school teacher back in the day, and she would lead all of the choirs at school and all the extracurriculars and stuff. And so she could kind of recognise a voice that was, I don't know, I could match pitch, let's say, and things like that. So she said that she could tell that I could be a singer from an early age, apparently. And I think I just sang all the time as well. But yeah, I have really fond memories of singing through musicals, especially over her shoulder. She'd have the music up on the piano, and then all 4 of us cousins would be around her. But I'd always be the first one to race to the piano when Grandma was about to sit down at it. So that's a really nice memory.
When did you first start composing your own music? Was it later on when you started studying contemporary stuff, or did you used to compose your classical?
No, I did compose classical as well. Yeah, I think I was about 12 when I got into. It was mostly kind of piano improvisation at that point, and then songwriting as well. And about 12, although I'd absolutely hate for anyone to hear the stuff that I wrote back then.
That's the best stuff.
I've still got the notebooks and stuff, and it really is cringeworthy.
But that's the stuff that shapes you. When you look back and you think, oh, I see where I got that. Although sometimes I look back at old stuff I've written and I think, how did I know about these topics when I was like 12 years old?
Yeah.
And I do see myself in a different light. But how do you feel classical music has impacted the music you're doing now? Do you feel like you still really channel it in the way that you write contemporary songs, or is it a very separate part of your brain?
I feel like it probably influences the way I write more than I actually realise. Just things like, just even because a part of the masters was we'd have to give feedback to other people, and it was great to receive feedback myself as well from maybe the more commercial side, and especially productions, the bit that classical music didn't touch at all. So I've had to learn all of that from scratch. But it was interesting that even the way that I kind of place words, because lyrics are always really important to me, and even the way that the lyrics fall syllabically, or if you're having it's called a melisma in classical music, where you have quite a few notes to one syllable. So even things like that, and making sure that the words are really placed in the right way, that's all come from my kind of classical composition. I had a period of really enjoying writing choral music, so that's, harmonies are still a huge part of my sound overall, and the album definitely has loads of huge kind of choral arrangements almost, so I feel like that definitely does feed in, even though it's easy to say, oh, that was a different part of my life and that's in the past.
Yeah. So I want to talk about your debut release way back. I want to crawl way back into it. 2020?
Oh gosh, yes.
An EP, Through Rain or Snow?
That's it,
how was that experience for you, self-releasing, I'm assuming, completely independent? How was that experience, releasing your own commercial music?
It was really exciting. It was absolutely not what I expected, just in terms of there are so many steps. That I think the main takeaway was, because I thought I was releasing it alongside doing my finals pretty much at Cambridge, and I had a lot on my plate, I guess, but I just didn't realise that there were so many stages, and even though I was surrounded by musical people, none of the people that I was surrounded by had even gone near releasing themselves, because it is just I think that's quite a different process probably within classical music. And so I firstly, it was I think it was 6 tracks, and then it became 5 tracks in the end, but we did all 6 tracks in 3 weeks at a recording studio, and it was one of these kind of collaborations with a student actually in Nottingham, at Confetti Studios. And looking back, to do a whole EP of 6 tracks in 3 weeks is a bit ridiculous, especially when I think I was ill for half of them, and the student was still working out how to use the sound desk, bless them, and everything like that. So it was a completely new experience for both of us, and I think that probably shows slightly in the music, but it was a great learning curve, and it taught me to definitely release a single after that, because I think I had to do everything for the first time, but 6 times, and then 5 times by the end of it. But that was a lot of learning. Yeah.
Well, since then you've released several singles, like 4 or 5 between that now and your debut album, which we'll return to later, because that's a whole topic. But the singles, you sang one of them today, Red Flag, first. I want to know more about Red Flag. It sounds kind of, I don't know, all of your songs sound quite personal and quite deep. Do you always write from that point of view, from your own experiences, or is Red Flag specifically different?
No, I did used to always think that I could only write about stuff that had actually happened, because I think when I was 12, I was kind of having to pick random experiences that hadn't happened, because nothing went on in my life then, probably. And then there was something about coming back to songwriting as a kind of outlet rather than something that I just wanted to do. It was kind of an outlet during university instead. So there were a lot of songs like navigating my first breakup and everything, and then falling for my partner, who's still my partner now, nearly 5 years later. So there were a lot of nice love songs coming out and everything as well. And I think it's interesting, because this album has been the transition period between needing to write about myself and realising that actually, especially because I'm in such a happy relationship, I can't go creating that much drama for myself forever. So I've had to kind of spin it on its head slightly, so that I'm thinking about the people that will listen to it instead. So it's kind of, Red Flag is written for people who have been left kind of without warning almost, for someone else, and they know the person well enough to say, there are loads of red flags there, don't go there, stay with me. But they've kind of been left already, so that's about waving your red flag. I didn't want to write it down, 'cause I cannot admit quite how it is I'm feeling. But if I spell it out, then everything that's piling up might hit a ceiling soon. I'm lying to myself, saying that I'm trying to rescue you, when we both know deep down you were never mine to lose. But there was something that you said late last night, I'm holding on to now with all my might, and hoping it's the first of many little vices. 'Cause she smokes rolled up cigarettes. Don't you remember when you said that you could never live with that? Well, here I am waving my red flag, my red flag, my red flag. And I can barely look at you, 'cause you can always somehow find a way to read me, the way you see right through, even when I laugh it off because it's easier. Lying to myself, saying that I'm trying to rescue you, when we both know deep down you were never mine to lose. But there was something that you said late last night, I'm holding on to now with all my might, and hoping it's the first of many little vices. 'Cause she smokes rolled up cigarettes. Don't you remember when you said you could never live with that? Well, here I am waving my red flag, my red flag, my red flag. So why am I sat here on the sidelines, biting my nails, eyes wide open just to catch her fail, so I can run back to you and rub her name in dirt, hoping there's something hiding up her sleeve, something shocking that'll make you leave. Then you can run back here and thank me. She smokes rolled up cigarettes. Don't you remember when you said you could never live with that? Well, here I am waving my red flag, my red flag, my red flag.
The Alpha Sessions.
Who are your biggest influences, talking about the kind of your sound, but also we talked about your classical background? Do you take a lot of influence from that side of things in terms of other artists, or do you look more into contemporary music?
I think especially folk music, my go-to playlists and stuff are always kind of acoustic chill, I think was the title of one that I was listening to for years and years. But yeah, songwriting wise, because I think I did come to it kind of lyrically to begin with. I know a lot of songwriters come from poetry beforehand, and that was quite a short phase. I'm definitely not a poet, but yeah, it did shape my lyrical interest a bit. So people like Passenger was a big influence, Taylor Swift, Maisie Peters, yeah, people that just I really admire their lyrics. And then as of recently, I've kind of come to appreciate more people who bring folk into a more commercial space, but just not even to make it more financially viable or marketable, just in terms of using really interesting collaborations of genres. And I'm really into Aurora at the moment, and the way that she really resonated listening to a podcast that she was on recently when she said that she's really doesn't like drums, because I completely relate, but I feel like they're such a staple for most people that I'm kind of scared to say that out loud usually.
You don't like drums, as in on your tracks or just any track?
Well, no, that would be unfair. But no, on my tracks, especially at live gigs, I think a lot of grassroots gigs, they're just way too loud. And I'm quite a sound sensitive person, which sometimes makes me think I'm in the wrong career. But
no, I can understand. You know, in the UK specifically, people who have come here from another country and they're at a gig and they always say to me, why is it so loud? And we were talking about Germany earlier. When I was in Germany, it was so comfortable. Like, there was a full band playing and the room was quite big, to be fair, but it was just easier to listen to. So I feel like in England we just have things too loud. I don't know why that is. But there are drums on a few of your tracks.
There are. I think we did do some live drums, but I can't remember if they're on singles that haven't come out yet or if they're on the album. I should probably know.
There are some on. Well, there are drums on the album.
But yeah, no, there are.
But
I think they're probably synthetic. But yeah, my go-to is synthetic drums, and Aurora does loads of that. They're really cool.
Aurora, I think I know who you're talking about, because, and it's embarrassing to say, but she had one song that became big on an advert one time, a long time ago, and that's when she kind of blew up. But for people who don't know Aurora, where do you start listening to her? So
Runaway, I think, blew up on TikTok especially. It might have been related, but she's been going for a while, but I think it's, since about lockdown that she's really blown up. But she's a Norwegian artist, really inspired by folk music, but it's kind of dark pop / folk music, so I just really love the collaboration. I feel like that's kind of the place that I'm next headed for the next potential album.
Next album, wow. The album's just dropped and we're ready for the next album. I do want to talk about your debut album, because that's a huge project to release. Even to, like you're saying, to release a 6-track EP is so much work when you're doing it all yourself as an independent artist. So how is it releasing a full album just now? I'm very lucky to have had the whole year doing the masters. So the kind of final project that you have to submit for that is the album itself, or that's one of the options. So that's it was kind of the perfect thing for me to have a year where I could just dedicate myself to songwriting and know that it wasn't, because it's always felt like an unproductive thing, because it's never been my full-time thing until now. So suddenly doing a course where it's fine if you stop that essay and you just write a song, then that's okay. So that was a really big mental change for me, and it meant that I could produce this whole body of work. And that all felt a bit more connected as well, because they were all written within the space of that 1 year. So I feel like even though there's not necessarily one theme going all the way through, they're just kind of cohesive in that way. And then part of the masters was that I'd had loads of advice given on how to release them, and the fact that it's probably something I didn't know for the EP. It's probably not best practice at the moment to release full albums without any kind of build up, so that's why I've gone for, I think they call it the waterfall effect, where they release a few singles first and tease them and everything like that. But I'm glad that it's all out now. I feel like there's only so much hype you can give each song, so it's nice to I just wanted it out there and to show people what I'm about. This is the thing, some people stress a lot about promotion and social media and things, they just suck up so much time that I think when you look at the face of it, you see someone post and you think, oh, just posted it, but there's so much that's gone into that. So how do you feel about social media and promotion in general?
Oh, well, it's actually really funny that you're asking me that today, because this morning I was on Muso Soup, which I hadn't touched since my first single from last year, Ice Cubes, because I ended up having to correct quite a few of the blogs that were written about me because the grammar was so awful. So that was a shame in the first place. But then I have gone back because I put out a bit of a cry for help the other day and people did suggest it, so I'm giving it a second chance. But this morning I went on all the offers that I've received over the weekend, and bearing in mind these are offers that people will give you, okay, if you pay something like £19, then you can feature on my Instagram. Like, okay, well, let's go and check out your Instagram. So this is a real story. So £19 to be featured on somebody's Instagram, and what they do, it's not an account made in this country. I couldn't even read the words, so firstly that's a bit of a language barrier for me. And then secondly, it's just videos of cats that my music would be playing in the background, but it was worse than that, because the one that I clicked on, it was actually a cat's litter tray being assembled. So I thought, I can pay you £19 to have my song playing over a litter tray. And that could be the make or break for my career, I'm sure.
Honestly, my next question was going to be, how do you feel about like Submit Hubs, Muso Soups, and all these like pay for review things?
Gosh.
But I think I can gather how you feel.
Oh, that was just, oh yeah.
Oh no. And I'm assuming you didn't go for it.
I haven't, no, but it did make it onto my story because I was so impressed by that level of, of business.
I mean, that in itself is promotion, I suppose.
It is. Well, it's always a shame when you put stories like that up and you get probably 10 times the amount that your music does.
Every time, right?
Every time.
Honestly. And about streaming as well, that kind of comes under the same umbrella. Because I know have you printed this on as a physical album?
I have,
CD?
yes.
Which is something that I guess everyone dreams to do. Well, some people don't even think about it because streaming's such a big thing now. But is it important to you to focus on paying for your music still, or are you going down the smooth streaming route?
Well, it's more because I love doing live performance. I feel like especially we were talking before coming on here about the house concerts that I've organised. So I did one in the autumn that was 3 weeks long, and one is coming up in Germany this coming autumn. And it's just, I think people that see me live want to have something physical to take away. It's rare that people will buy it over the website and stuff. I mean, occasionally people have, but I think it's more in person at the gig. They want something to remember it by that's physical. But yeah, I think it's just nice to have that thing that you can actually hold in your hand. And I got a bit obsessed and bought loads of tote bags as well. So the merchandise is very tote bag heavy.
Tote bags are good things. I've got a collection of tote bags. I will buy one of your tote bags right now to add to my collection. You've also gone through with, instead of reviews, playlisting, which this is a whole subject for me, because paying to be on a playlist seems so like just emotionless. It seems so empty and distant, but equally that's just how the world has moved. That's just like the direction things have gone, because streaming's such a thing now, such a major way to listen. So, and I've written here that I browsed your discovered on your Spotify when I was looking at everything, and all the playlists that you're added to say like sad songs or depressing times. Yeah. And I was like, what is with all these sad playlists? Why is that something you aimed for? Is that like one of your USPs? Or did it just happen? Did people just take your songs and they're like sad?
I mean, I know a few of them are sad, and even when I write happy songs, they tend to sound sad. That's the worst one. It's because as soon as you write something like Blue Southwestern Skies is a really wholesome song dedicated to my mum. It's not supposed to be sad, but I think it's just something about piano, kind of ballad. People just didn't know what to do with it. No. I think that was the takeaway. So unless it's a breakup song or it's kind of the next summer hit, I think people just don't quite know where to place it, which is fair enough as well. But yeah, it's been a learning curve. I'm not sure I've cracked it yet, but I will update you.
I don't know if it's possible to crack. But I do think there's a weird thing at the moment, people not listening to lyrics very much, and they hear the sound, which is fair enough. If you get the feeling from just like the sound of it or the atmosphere, that's fine. But like you were saying, your lyrics are important to you, and that's one of the main events of the whole piece of music. So I guess that's why they just hear, like you say, they hear the piano and they're like, that's sad music. But, so you mentioned Blue Southwestern Skies, which is perfect because that's the second song you played for us. And you say it's an ode. I wrote down, is this an ode to somebody, when I was listening to you earlier, because it does feel that way. Yeah. So you said it's for your mum?
Yes. Yeah, it was written on Mother's Day 2022. And it came out literally a year later as the single. So yeah, it was written on the piano that I learned to play on, which has had several house moves, from Nottingham, etc. And the one that I'm sure Grandma's accompanied me on quite a lot as well. And she even made a cameo appearance in the music video for the part of the verse that says, it's something about having a drink together or something, or tonight let's raise our glasses with a smile or something like that. And Grandma was very eager to make a cameo appearance for that.
Well, I don't know where I'll be this time next year. To be honest, it's anybody's guess, and I'm all ears. But if somehow life takes me far away from here, there are things that you should know. as long as the dawn still marks first light. You should know I'll always call you home. I'll always call you home. No matter where I go, you should know I'll always call you home. And I know now that there's only so much time that I get to spend on this earth by your side. But tonight let's raise our glasses with a smile, 'cause you know I have so much to say. It's just taken me a while. As long as the blue southwestern skies are covered by a million wings in flight, as long as the dawn still marks first light, you should know I'll always call you home. I'll always call you home. No matter where I go, you should know I'll always call you home. I'll always call you home. And I don't know how it took so long for me to finally write this song. I guess that there was just too much to say, 'cause you've shaped every part of me, at least the parts I'm proud to see in the mirror every time I wake. Oh, I hope I never take for granted the belief you planted in the woman I hope that I can be. You mean the world to me. I'll always call you home. I'll always call you home. No matter where I go, you should know I'll always call you home. No matter where I go, you should know I'll always call you home. I'll always call you home.
The Alpha Sessions.
So, I mean, your sound works amazingly for this acoustic session. I wasn't expecting your keyboard though. I was expecting some acoustic guitar because
Yeah.
it's just easier to carry one.
Yeah.
But I loved having a keyboard in here for once. And also, I saw, speaking of acoustic sessions, you worked with Max Bandicoot in Goot Studios.
Yes.
And I worked with him recently. I did like one of his Extract TV sessions.
Okay.
So do you do a lot of things like this? You like your acoustic sessions?
Yeah, I would love to work with him again. He came to Dorset just after lockdown actually to do some music video shooting as well, in a lovely thatched barn. Yeah, I think partly that acoustic is kind of all that my music at the moment caters for, just because I don't have a band. I would love to get one eventually, but I've already told you about my drum phobia. I do have a cajon, and I think I can maybe stretch to that. And yeah, I normally have my loop pedal, and I wasn't quite sure what the setup would work like in here, so that's why I chose the keyboard today. But I use that quite often to recreate some of the harmonies, but obviously you can't do it all and you have to layer it up layer by layer, so that would be going for quite a while to get through 20 vocal layers.
True. I'm glad you mentioned that though, because I find loop pedals fascinating and I really want to try one, but they take so much practice. Well, I've heard they take a lot of practice when you want to make everything really tight.
Yeah.
When did you get into that? How long have you been using that?
I started using it live a year and a half ago, in January. I think the first time I used it actually was at the Ice Cube's launch of the single. That was March 2022. So I guess it's been just over a year actually, but it's kind of my sidekick. I use it when I'm busking. I use it for all sorts of gigs, and it's kind of the feature piece. I think it's just nice it's just a bit of a different selling point, because I think even the sound engineers, when I go to a gig, they'll expect me to loop the guitar, and they haven't really heard of a lot of vocal looping before, but that's the only way that I do it at the moment. I might branch out eventually.
Experiment. Tell me more about your busking life. How long have you been busking? In London or all over?
Everywhere I try and go, to be honest. I mean, in the tour that I did in the autumn, that was kind of half of the tour. I was doing these house concerts in the evenings, and then every time I went to a new city, I'd go and busk and just try and get myself out there a bit. I think there's a lot of misconceptions around busking, because even a friend the other day, he hadn't heard my music yet, and he said, "Oh, the fact that you said you were busking the other day, I assumed that you weren't very good." And then I went and listened to your music over the weekend, and you're great and stuff. And it was just funny to see. I think there are a lot of stereotypes around busking, and that's probably, it's a shame that it means, as soon as you're kind of, I almost feel like when I'm walking down the street and somebody can tell I'm going to go and set up busking, there are a few rolled eyes, or people are a bit worried that they've come to have this nice peaceful day or something. But actually, especially where I busk now in Cambridge, is quite a regular. People will come and actually get a coffee at the cafes around, so they can just come and listen to some free music. So that's really nice. I think it can be a nice thing. It's just, it's a tricky one to kind of police, I guess, but it shouldn't be policed either, because it's how so many people get their performing experience up, and that's really helped with that as well.
True. I mean, you've got performing experience all round, to be honest, and I wanted to ask you about your album launch shows, because you've just done those, because your album came out like 3 days ago now.
Friday.
And then straight away you had 2 gigs, one in Cambridge, one in London. How did they go? How was that?
Really well. I was really nervous, I'm not gonna lie, for Friday. I think especially I just had so much frustration last year with putting on what I think was just too many original shows, because it got to the point where I was having to look through my WhatsApp list of people to text again saying, "Can you please just come and make up the audience again for this next gig?" And it just took the life out of it, really. So I purposefully stripped it back this year, and I've done loads of performing, just professionally and for different parties and all the rest of it, but I don't often get to do my original stuff, especially my slower stuff, because it just doesn't usually fit the mood. So it was actually quite daunting to have realised that I just hadn't performed any of the slower original music since January, and keyboard in general I just don't perform on since the tour, actually. So I was a bit worried about how that was going to go, but it actually went really well, and there was a good turnout and everything. So it was at the Harrison on Friday, near King's Cross, and that was the kind of main one in my mind. And then I just that was hosted by Folk and Roots, which are a promoter, and there was a sound engineer and everything, and it was really smooth running. And then Cambridge, it was kind of the other end of the spectrum. It was it was a lovely night, and it was a very intimate space in a basement, which was thankfully quite cool. It was a very hot day, but it was literally my boyfriend doing tickets on the door, and we had our own merch table in the corner, and I had to even bring the fairy lights from home, because it was just had to do everything ourselves. So it was really nice to have both kind of types of gig, I suppose.
Do you have a favourite venue you've ever played? Ooh. Could be anywhere in the world.
I mean, the Harrison was really up there for me. I've also played at the Camden Chapel in London. That's really nice. Just anything that has a really intimate vibe. But I do actually love performing in churches as well. They've always got such nice acoustics that I feel like it's not even just the sound that comes out, it's just the fact that you can feel more empowered by the sound that you're getting back as you sing. I think that's maybe from my days as a choral scholar as well. It's just kind of where I feel at home. Yeah, I
do love a church. Can you just hire a church? Can you just hire a church? Can you
I
go
think
in and
so.
say, "Can I come and sing in here?" I mean,
think
you could
it's
put
possible.
on a gig, put on a church
Yeah.
gig. That'd be lovely. Get all your favourite support acts.
Yeah.
Get them in there. So the final song you performed for us, "We're All Gone,"
Mm-hmm.
was from your debut album.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me all about that one. When was that written? How was it written? What's it about?
So that was written. My partner's probably going to kill me for divulging. But no, I think we were in a long distance relationship whilst I was doing the masters, because he was having to finish his time at uni, and it was just a whole new chapter for me. We went from being, well, pretty much living together during lockdown to not living together at all, and me suddenly being exposed to a whole new world in London, and just completely, I felt like even our friendship groups were completely different for the first time and things like that, and it did take a bit of a toll. And that song was written at the lowest point of our relationship, and I frequently do this where I feel as if I need to up my game as a partner. I will write a song as if everything has gone absolutely wrong, and then that will, every time I play it, that will kind of remind me that it could have gone badly if I hadn't have changed things. So yeah, that was definitely a personal song, and it's quite funny actually, because sometimes I'll perform it and I'll have said in the last 10 minutes before the show, like, "I love you, thank you so much for coming along," and he's probably on the merch table or on the doors or doing something. And sometimes I would have been an absolutely stressy mess beforehand, and I would have been quite sharp in what I've been telling him to do, or shouting out all these instructions. Then I play that song and I think, oops, I need to be a bit careful. But no, so yeah, that was a very personal song, and yeah, it felt completely true at the time as well. It was literally me kind of sat there crying at the piano, thinking that everything was going to be over and it was all my fault, sort of thing. But thankfully now it's not triggering, that one, because it's a very happy ending. But I always have to kind of preface that song with that. So I'm in a very happy relationship.
Did you choose to play that one today for a reason? If you could pick any off the album? Or...
Well, We're All Gone is really the lead track. I mean, I found it really hard to pick which one, and especially because 4 of them were released at the same time. It wasn't as if I'd kind of saved that one till last, but I just feel like the vocal fireworks at the end is kind of my showstopper, I guess. But yeah, it's just one that feels very cathartic to play, so I enjoy playing that one a lot.
Lovely. And what have you got coming up in the pipeline? I know you've just dropped a whole album, but you sound like you've just got things rolling in all the time. So it's festival season. Have you got any big gigs coming up, festival slots we can keep an eye on? Oh,
well, that depends on... There's a Facebook poll going on. I'm not sure that this will be out in time for people to act upon that, but that's for the Purbeck Rising competition, Purbeck Folk Festival. But yeah, if that doesn't come to fruition, then I'm playing at Westbury Festival as well.
Nice.
And a few, I'm associated with Talent Bank, and they've got a few kind of summer gigs going on. But other than that, I'm kind of gearing towards Germany and that tour now. So that will happen from the 22nd to the, sorry, I didn't even say the month, 22nd of September to the 16th of October. And that's going to be a 3-week-long house concert tour. But there will be some other venues thrown in there, hopefully.
Amazing.
And then as soon as I get back from that, I've got about 3 weeks to prepare for my headline show at the Green Note. So that's my first time performing there, and that should be really good. That's, again, in association with Talent Bank, so really looking forward to that.
Got a lot going on. If anyone wants to look any of that up, come and see you live, listen to music, how do they find you on social media? Where are you most active?
Probably Instagram. It might be TikTok eventually if I get my act together, but for now, Instagram. And it's a bit of a long handle. It's Rachel Hill Music Official, because there are lots of Rachel Hills that also like music, apparently. But it should also be on my website, which is just www.rachelhillmusic.com. And Rachel is with just EL as well. But yeah, and Facebook, I do try and remember everyone on Facebook as well. That's just Rachel Hill Music, but yeah, just find me anywhere.
Lovely. Well, it's a brilliant album. We've loved having you on, and thank you for chatting with me.
Thank you.
Well, I didn't see it coming, but I guess that's the way. After all the storms break out on the sunniest of days, and the thunder starts to clap and a couple raindrops tap you on the shoulder. They say you better run for shelter. Oh, I never thought we would break like this, but then again, you're not somebody I planned to miss, and I deserve at least goodbye. So why am I sat here with the lamplight on, writing you a stupid little love song, using words I'll never say you were mine until today. Now you're all gone. You're all gone. And I miss the way you'd hold me, especially when I cried. Now I've got no one to call and nobody to fight this tidal wave. So let it wash me away. Ooh. Oh, I never thought we would break like this, but then again, you're not somebody I planned to miss, and I deserve at least goodbye. So why am I sat here with the lamplight on, writing you a stupid little love song, using words I'll never say you were mine until today. Now we're all gone. We're all gone. And you're still the one I'd run to if I could somehow come to meet every expectation in your head. No, I'm not perfect, I know that you deserve to cut these ties and fly off free, but so you know, I take you back in a heart.